Well, hello, friends, and welcome to another Ask Zach. So I hope you're doing well, and today we are going to talk about maple cap neck Telecasters. So these are some of my favorite vintage guitars, and I think it's kind of the last bastion of affordable vintage, and that's all relative, but there's still a lot of these maple cap, necked Telecaster guitars out there that are reasonable, especially if they've been a little bit non-original. So what is a maple cap neck? So basically it's a Tele from roughly 66 through 68 that it is a two-piece maple neck. So instead of it having a maple neck and then with the skunk stripe on the back instead, and the walnut plug on the front, it's a maple neck with a separate maple fretboard. And again, the majority of them were made from 1966 through 1968. Now to go back a little further, just to kind of give about the whole construction of necks and such, originally, of course, Fender used one-piece maple necks, and they installed the truss rod through the back, and there was a hole that was drilled up here, and there was a route in the back of the neck, and so that's where you get the skunk stripe. It's a walnut strip that's on the back of the neck, and you get a walnut plug that's on the front. Okay. He decided to change the construction of his necks in 1959. It's been said that it was because he saw that the necks were getting worn and he didn't like it. Another report is that they thought that rosewood fretboards looked more professional, because that's what everyone else was doing. So regardless of which reason it was, he changed to rosewood. But there were some holdouts of guys that liked maple necks. Well, he wasn't going to change the way he made necks for those guys. So because they had already switched everything at the factory. So if a guy, a special, had to be someone, special, wanted a maple neck, what they would do is they would make a neck just like they did before, but instead of using a separate piece of wood, piece of rosewood for the fretboard, well, they'd mill a piece of maple the same way they did the rosewood, and they'd slap it on there. So probably the earliest ones that you'll see, the earliest maple cap necks, are the Sunburst Esquire that Luther Perkins played with Johnny Cash. Then the gold sparkle Telecasters that Don Rich and Buck Owens had. Also the kind of brownish red Tele that Neil Levang played on the Lawrence Welk show. All those, were maple cap necks early on. Then you get to 1965 or so, and it starts to become a little bit more common. And that's when you get the Bob Dylan's black Telecaster with a maple cap neck, and it still has a spaghetti logo. And of course, at the end of the tour, he gave it to his guitar player, Robbie Robertson, and Robbie played that black maple cap neck Tele on a lot of the band stuff, and it was his main guitar. He stripped the finish off, added a humbucker, and then they sold it at Julian's, a year or two ago. So, my love of the maple cap necks starts with working for Brad Paisley. So I was, of course, stringing that guitar and playing it every day, and it just had a really nice attack. It was twangy, but it wasn't, in no way harsh. And I started noticing other maple cap neck Teles. So one, I noticed that Brent Mason's 68 was a maple cap neck. Then met a great guitar player named Pat Bergeson, and he had a maple cap neck Esquire that he had added, of course, a neck pickup to. Tom Bukovac, when he was playing with Winona Judd in the 90s, and I was seeing him play on television, he was playing a maple cap neck Tele, and I just was noticing these more and more. Then I met Red Volkart. And I was telling Red how I was wanting to get a vintage Tele, but they seemed so expensive. Of course, now that doesn't seem so bad, way back when. But he said, what you ought to look for is a maple cap neck Tele from 66 through 68. And he said the reason is that they're great guitars. They're very consistent, and they still have nitro finish on the body. They you still have the cloth covered wires. They're great guitars. So that's what I ended up doing. And Ron Ellis ended up helping me get this guitar. So I found this guitar on Craigslist in San Diego, which of course I don't live there, but I contacted the guy, and originally we were going to do a deal, and then all of a sudden he wanted cash because he was going through a divorce. Oh, so that kind of threw a monkey wrench in the deal, and so Ron Ellis, the famous pickup winder, he was kind enough to act as kind of the go-between on this, to do the cash Craigslist deal. So I wired Ron Ellis the money, and he cashed it, and then he met up with the guy, checked out the guitar, made sure it was right, told me it was a good one, and then shipped it on to me. So what a buddy, what a friend to do that. So that's how I got this. So this is a late 1967 maple cap neck Tele. And 67 is a big transition year. So 67 is when you change from the Kluson machine heads to the F tuners like this. 67 is when you change from the gold transition logo to the black CBS logo like you see here. Also 67 is when you go from black face to silver face amps. So 67 is a big transition year. Also in 67 is when you get what we call modern wiring, where you get neck, both pickups, and bridge pickup. Because before that, it was neck through the mud circuit, neck pickup, and then bridge pickup. 67, you would also have threaded saddles, but I have the original threaded saddles, but I've removed them because I wanted some compensated ones. So these are steel saddles, but they're compensated and they're not grooved. In 68, you get the transition to the saddles that have two grooves in them that are made from steel. So what's special about these guitars? Well, there's something about the maple cap neck. There's something about having two pieces of maple that make it twangy and kind of slick, but also assertive. And from talking with Joe Glazer and also some guys in the R&D department at Gibson that I just happened to talk with a couple years back while they came by the True Tone offices, is that they all felt that a more rigid neck produces a stronger fundamental. So you kind of have your fundamental, and then you have these harmonics, on a note when you play it. And what they said was that by having a two-piece neck, it creates more fundamental. And so it ends up kind of having a stronger, more assertive tone. And that's the way I feel about these guitars. They have they're not harsh in any way, but they have kind of an assertiveness to it. And, of course, the maple is the feel that I want. And, they're great. So a couple famous maple cap neck users would be like Cornell Dupree. So when he played a Tele in the late 60s and into the 70s before he started playing Yamaha guitars, he was playing on the neck pickup and playing things like... That was on a maple cap neck Tele. Of course, later he added a DeArmond pickup in the middle position and took the pick guard off and all that jazz. Bobby Womack played a maple cap neck Tele on that, Wilson Pickett and his solo records and Aretha Franklin. They were those guitars. Reggie Young used one on a lot of the sessions that he did before he got that black 69 Tele in late 69. So, like Memphis Soul Stew and other things were played on a maple cap neck Tele. And the neck pickup, it just has a really clear sound. I mean, it has something to do with the maple cap neck, the ash body, the bridge and the steel saddles, the staggered pole pieces. They still have 250K pots. And, you know, so you can play things like... very clear, you know, even on the wound strings, you know, on the neck pickup. And of course it's great for all the double stops and, you know. It's really spanky. You can also, on the neck pickup, it has a really nice doinky sound when you play really close to the bridge. Yeah, they made, the only bad things about this era is the pickups were lacquer potted instead of wax potted, and so I've had to have these pickups wax potted because the lacquer ends up flaking off, and then your sweat gets down into the bridge pickup and kills it. So the bridge pickup had to be revived, and then the neck pickup became very microphonic. And so I had both of them wax potted, but of course the bridge pickup had to be, you know, partially rewound. So that's the, you know, that's the neck pickup. Again, just really clear. Great sound. Both pickups. And of course, the business end, the bridge pickup. Really clear, strong sound, but not harsh. Ringy, clear. These are great guitars, and even if they've been kind of monkeyed with, I think they're worth checking out. You know, if you can find a 68, you know, maple cap neck, you know, Tele that the pickup's been changed and the tuner's been changed, so what? They're still cool guitars. I've played tons, you know, there's just something about that era. There's something about those 66 through 68 maple cap neck guitars. They're not amazing like some of the broadcasters or blackguards, but there's some really, really great ones, and they seem to be really consistent. I mean, unless they've just totally been destroyed, they're really cool guitars. So, I love maple cap neck Teles, and again, they're kind of, you know, the last bastion of affordable vintage. You know, while all those other guitars are 10,000 and up, you know, these are still somewhat reasonable, especially if it's been, the body's been refinned or something like that. And to me, it's like, who cares? I'm gonna play it. So, yeah, there you have it. Maple cap neck Teles. Thanks to Red Volkart for cluing me in on them. Thanks to Ron Ellis for spinning the deal that got me this one, and thanks to Reggie Young for signing the back of the headstock here before he passed. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed today's Ask Zach. Hope you'll subscribe, and I hope you'll keep watching. Thanks, and bye-bye.